What's going on, everybody? It is Clint back with the Total Takedown. We're talking UFC Vegas 36. We're looking how long these fights are going to last rather than picking a side, or at least as best we can. You know, we break that rule basically every single week at some point going through the list. Do me a favor, hit the like button. Let's dive straight on into this thing. We got a bit of a short card today, so it shouldn't be too long of a video for you. First fight of the night is Jonathan Martinez taking on Marcelo Rojo. Bantamweight matchup here. Total set at 2.5. The under 2.5 is about plus 110, plus 115, and we're looking at minus 135-ish to the over 2.5. And I definitely think this is an okay spot to tag for a violence bet early in the evening. Jonathan Martinez is coming off of a knockout loss. We have seen him get into these stand-up wars before. We have seen him rocked. We have seen him wobbled. But we also know the offensive output that this kid is capable of. Marcelo Rojo on the flip side of this thing, my favorite T-Rex in the world. This guy does nothing but get in his opponent's face. He came in on short notice against Charles Air Jourdain, up a weight class. I apologize, not up a weight class, but he's got a full camp for this particular fight. So he's gonna look better, he's gonna look sharper, he's gonna be prepared for his opponent, and all this guy does is force action. So he's gonna do the same thing that Davey Grant did. He's gonna get in Martinez's face, he's gonna throw heavies, he's gonna try to put him away, and if he doesn't do that, he is the type of fighter that will go out on his shield. So both these guys absolutely have finish upside. Both these guys can be finished, so I like the under 2.5. That's a good spot for a violence bet to kick off the night, and one that I may well be adding to my betting card come Saturday. Middleweight fight up next, Dalcha Lungiambula taking on Marc-André Barriault. We got a total set at 2.5 here, and it's a pick 'em, over and under, right at minus 110 on either sides of the line. I couldn't agree more with that because I'm looking at that round 3 prop. You know I like my little sprinkle on my round 3s. So basically, Dalcha Lungiambula, this dude hits like a truck. He's big, he's explosive, he's muscular, but if he doesn't get you out of there early, he just doesn't really have a plan B. He doesn't really have the game plan to extend the fight and win minutes and win rounds unless he is getting those takedowns and he's able to stay on top of you throughout the fight. Marc-André Barriault is a guy that's known for his durability. He's known for his toughness, his gas tank, and his get-up game. So a guy like Dalcha coming in trying to take down Marc-André, Andre does what he does best. He's just going to stand back up, he's going to grind against the cage, and then he's going to go to work as his opponent fades. Now the question is, does this thing inside the distance or not? Dalcha Lungiambula can finish just about anybody if he connects with the right shot. Marc-André Barriault, not the biggest power puncher, kind of more of a volume guy. So I think it's Barriault late. I think it's Lungiambula early. The problem is it could very easily go all the way to the judges' scorecards. So I want nothing to do with this 2.5 mark. For the sake of the show, I got to pick one. So I'm going to say over. I'll say over 2.5 hits because Marc-André can't quite get Dalcha out of there and ends up grinding away a decision win or gets that last 2 minutes and 30 seconds in for that finish. Catchweight fight coming up next. Julian Erosa taking on Charles Air Jourdain. And we got a total once again set at 2.5. Now this was a spot that I was looking at earlier in the week, and I was thinking violence, violence, violence all day. It was about minus 140, minus 150. But the secret is out. We all know all about Julian Erosa's chin issues, and this has now been steamed. It's minus 175, minus 180, minus 190. It is crazy how much love has come in for this under 2.5. We know the violent tendencies of Charles Air Jourdain, and we know that Julian Erosa is a guy that stands toe-to-toe, bangs, and then either kills his opponent or goes out on his shield as well. So I can't really argue against the 2.5, except that we have a new interview that came out. Apparently Julian Erosa's game plan for this fight is to grind on Charles Jourdain for a straight 15 minutes and win a decision. He's on record saying that. And the questions that raises a massive red flag for me, because Charles Jourdain has very suspect takedown defense. We've seen him taken down time and time again. He manages to get back up. He manages to attack off of his back. But Julian Erosa, coming in on short notice, is going to be the heavier and the larger of the two men. And if he just wants to grapple his way to a decision, all he's got to do is keep that chin safe on his takedown entries. That's not saying that Jourdain can't land a bomb, but it makes it very less likely because Erosa is not going to entertain him on the feet. He's going to be looking for the takedowns. It really narrows that gap of finishing opportunity. Now, we saw last time out, Charles Jourdain went back to his corner before the third round, told himself he was going to be a champion in the UFC, and then came out and got the finish of Marcelo Rojo in that third. So this 2.5 is still not safe. but the over 2.5 honestly seems to be where the value's at this point. The plus 140, plus 155 on the over 2.5. If you think Julian Erosa looks like he's in shape, I would sit tight. Wait till the weigh-ins tomorrow. See if he comes in looking a little soft. See if he comes in looking a little flabby. But if he's on point, if he's ready to go, and he's just getting a catch weight because he's a big dude and doesn't have time to cut properly, he could very well smother Jourdain for 15 minutes. So very sketchy spot here. I'm not laying minus 175, minus 180 on an under 2.5. I'd be tempted on the over 2.5 just because of that game plan. Bantamweight fight, Jack Shore taking on Liudvik. And what we have in this fight is a total once again set at 2.5. Total is ever so slightly juiced. It looks like minus 125 to the over 1.5 and minus 110 to the under 2.5. I'm sorry about that, 2.5. So ever so slightly favored for this thing to go over. And this is kind of a similar situation as the last fight in my opinion. Jack Shore is a guy that just wrestles. He's got a good body lock. He just grinds on people. He never gives them a break. His opponent Liudvik is coming in here on super short notice trying to save this fight here. Big opportunity for him to make it to the UFC, but he's got a tall order ahead of him. The thing is, Liudvik is big. He's a big dude, and he knows how to wrestle. So if Jack Shore gets tired wrestling Liudvik, that could end very, very poorly. If Liudvik comes in on short notice, has a bad cut, isn't quite able to make it, isn't trained properly for this fight, Jack Shore could easily get him out of there because this guy is slick on the ground. He's got heavy ground and pound. He's got a 6 submission game. So don't count out Jack Shore getting some kind of a finish in this spot either. It's one that I want nothing to do with if I'm being honest. Jack Shore by decision seems like the most likely outcome in this fight to me, but at the same time, like I said, I could see Liudvik just gassing out, Jack Shore getting his back and hanging up some kind of a rear naked choke on him, or a TKO after he flattens him out with back control. I could also see Liudvik being the bigger dude and maybe getting some kind of fluky knockout win or something like that from just the mass amount of size difference here. So definitely a sketchy fight. I'll say over 2.5 if I gotta make a pick. Next up, flyweight fight, closing out the prelims. Molly Meatball McCann taking on Ji-Yoon Kim. One of the most hotly debated fights on the entire card. I love it. Women's pick'em fight here, and everyone's just going tooth and nail on who they think's going to win this one and why. Total set at 2.5. The over is minus 420. The under is plus 335. And I sometimes like to turn the tale on its head and say the women's under is the way to go. Not this time, folks. Not this time. Molly McCann is tough. She's durable. She's a boxer. She likes to get in close range, go to work with those hands. And her opponent, even though Fire Fist Ji-Yoon Kim has some serious pop on her punches, she's a bit slow, she's tall, she's long. Someone like Molly is going to be able to avoid a lot of those punches, and if Molly decides to grapple, I don't think she gets a ground and pound TKO. I don't think she locks up a submission. I think she just scores some minutes. They get back up to their feet in a scramble, and there we go again. So with both these women being tough, with both of them being relatively durable, it's definitely going to the judges' scorecards in my opinion, and unless Fire Fist manages to make massive leaps and bounds improvements, I don't really see that she's going to be able to handle Molly McCann to the point that she just cracks her and TKOs her or something like that. That'd be damn impressive. So I would side with the over, but again, I'm not laying 400. I'm not laying minus 420, and I wouldn't suggest you do either. Lightweight fight kicking off the main card here. Paddy Pimblett taking on Luigi Vendramini. And this is another fun one. Total set at 2.5. The over 2.5 is plus 105. The under 2.5 minus 125. And even though it looks like the over 2.5 has kind of been ping-ponging a little bit, taking a little bit of love recently, I would be siding with violence on this particular fight as well. Paddy Pimblett, we know the UFC has been watching this kid for a long time. He was supposed to make his UFC debut a couple years ago. Got some more fights under his belt. Now here he is. Luigi Vendramini, absolute killer. This guy has a 100% finish rate. He knocks his opponents out or he chokes them out every single time he wins a fight. We've seen Paddy struggle with solid competition before, but is he ready to make that jump? Big question here. Paddy Pimblett's going to have the height, he's going to have the reach, but this guy really relies on the grappling and the jiu-jitsu to get things done. Luigi is a guy that has some super high-level jiu-jitsu, but we don't really know what his bottom back game looks like all that much. We could see some scrambles here. We could see Luigi land a big bomb early because he does have that big power. We could see Paddy Pimblett land a head kick. We could see a jiu-jitsu scramble where somebody gives up their back. I mean, this is one of those fights where literally anything can happen. Considering the level of fighters we're dealing with, I would definitely look at violence. I think one of these guys is probably going to finish here. And the under 2.5 at minus 125 doesn't seem like a bad option to me with all that firepower. Light heavyweight fight coming up next. Modestas Bukauskas taking on my guy Khalil Rountree. And we've got a total set at 1.5 for this one. 1.5 total here. Over is -140. The under is +120. And I'd be looking over. I'd be looking at a real sneaky big boy light heavyweight over here. Khalil Rountree is the guy we all expected to come out last fight and just have a big round one. If you go back and you watch that fight, he laid an ass whooping. It was just bad luck that Marcin Prachnio didn't fall. I mean, a lot of those shots could have put him down. Marcin was hurt multiple times in that accident, and I suspect a little bit of EPO sprinkled on top helped him stay in that fight. Modestas Bukauskas has that same tall man's defense. He has that same lean back and give up his chin defense. Now, Modestas is a very young fighter, and he is big for this division, so he could have made adjustments. He could have made improvements, but we have yet to see those, so we can't really bank on them until he gets in there and shows us this new level that he's got. Khalil Rountree is a guy that we know can be taken down. We know he can be finished and broken once it hits the mat, but he's taken on Modestas, a guy that does not wrestle, a guy that does not go for the grappling, and he likes to be on the outside striking. So because of that, I do think we're going to get kind of a striker's delight, a slow-paced, light heavyweight, icebergy type of striking match. I'd be looking over 1.5. I think Khalil's going to work the body and the leg kicks. Modestas is going to stay outside and try and time some jabs and some crosses from outside. And Khalil Rountree's been durable enough when fights have taken place, mostly on the feet, simply striking, and the grappling doesn't get mixed in all that much. So yeah, I think we're going to see a striking match on this one, and the over 1.5 doesn't seem like a bad spot to me. Welterweight fight coming up. Alex Morono, my guy, the Great White, taking on my other guy, David Zawada. Both these guys are fighters I'm a huge fan of. And this is a big, big move here. We saw the line open up, +175, +165 for David Zawada. And now it's sitting about where it should. I think it's about pick'em price tag. We got -130-ish on Alex Morono and +110 on Zawada. That's, I think, where it should have been in the first place. The total, on the other hand, is 2.5. The over is -170. The under is +150. And this is one where you can absolutely argue for the under 2.5 if you really want to. David Zawada can submit absolutely anybody. We've seen the kind of wars that Alex Morono produces. He likes to get out there and get in his opponent's faces. He likes to push that pace. He likes to hurt people. And because of that, both these guys I feel like could get cracked. One of them could tap. We could see a submission. But at the same time, both these guys are incredibly durable. Zawada's been to a couple of split decisions in his UFC career so far against some high-level prospects. And Alex Morono is a guy who, went to a decision with a washed-up Anthony Pettis not so long ago. So I think the answer here is that both these guys are tough enough to hang in the fight unless we see something really unexpected. I would expect this one to hit the judges' cards, and I think the over is the way to go, even though -170 does seem a little bit steep for that. Co-main event here, heavyweight fight, Tom Aspinall taking on Sergey Spivak, and we're going to go ahead and break that rule, folks. We were talking about how the totals sometimes correlate with the fighters, and that's exactly what you have here in this spot. We got a 1.5, and the reason for that is Tom Aspinall, he wins all of his fights under 1.5. If you are betting Tom Aspinall, you're not betting this thing to go to decision. You're not betting this thing to see the third round. You're expecting him to step in there and smoke his opponent and just finish them within the first 60 seconds or so, because this guy's got fast hands and big power. If you're looking at Sergey Spivak, even if he doesn't win the fight, even if he doesn't get the nod in the end, if he just hangs in there, if he can force a couple grappling exchanges, if he can make Tom Aspinall wrestle just a little bit, if he can stay safe, high tight boxing guard on the outside, block some of those power shots, maybe he can see round 2. Maybe he can get to the end of round 2. Maybe he can even see round 3. So if you're looking at this fight, you're thinking over 1.5 is Sergey Spivak, under 1.5 is Tom Aspinall, and that's really the only way you can chop this one up, so you kind of got to pick a side. I think the over 1.5 is a half-decent way to go if you're going to play it that way. I'm in the Sergey Spivak boat. I took a taste of that plus 215 price tag. I think it's a little bit wide. And yeah, if you want to say that maybe he just needs to hang in there but probably can't quite get the win from a guy the caliber of Tom Aspinall, I get it. And the over 1.5 is maybe a safer bet for you at this point. There's still a couple plus 100s out there that you can snag. And if you're looking at Tom Aspinall and you want to bring that 250 price tag down, even money, -110, doesn't sound so bad for a first round finish from a guy that usually gets it done early. Main event time, Derek Brunson taking on Darren Till. We have got all the totals, which I love these 5-round main events. They give me all the options. So we've got a total here set at, it looks like 3.5 is the predominant line. Under 3.5 is -140. The over 3.5 is +120. And if you have a book that doesn't do 3.5s and you've got 4.5, you're looking at +155 to the over and -175 to the under. Man, Derek Brunson, this guy relies on that grappling. He's explosive, he hits hard, he's big, and he can wrestle. Darren Till, so far we've seen some solid takedown defense from the kid, but he's never really fought a wrestler the caliber of Derek Brunson. He's new to 185. We still don't know what he's going to look like at this weight class. And he is a power puncher, but he's slow. He has no output. This one's so confusing. It's another one where if Derek Brunson wins this fight, he probably out-wrestles Darren Till. If he gets Darren Till on the mat, I mean, he probably goes full Tyrone Woodley on him and just goes hammer-fisting until the referee pulls him off. Derek Brunson probably gets a finish if he's the one winning in this fight. Darren Till, on the flip side of this thing, he probably finishes too. We've seen the chin issues of Brunson. We've seen this guy knocked out. It's been a while, but we've seen him rocked. We've seen him wobbled. He's done the stanky leg. Even in his fight against Kevin Holland, he did the stanky leg and barely survived that one. If Brunson can't get the wrestling going, then he probably tires out. He probably slows down. With a guy that's big and strong, solid enough takedown defense like Darren Till, I think Derek Brunson may have some trouble there and slows down. And then if he slows down, he's going to be a sitting duck. He's eventually going to get clipped. He's eventually going to get caught. I have a hard time seeing this one going the distance just because of the way that these two guys fight. So if I'm going to make a pick, I'm going to say the under. The 3.5 has me a little bit spooked, if I'm being honest. I don't think this fight goes the distance, so maybe laying that -200 or taking the under 4.5 at -175. That might be the answer, because at 3.5, that's right around the spot where I would expect this fight to end. Because I think Derek Brunson, like I said, he could take Till down early when he's tall. I'm not when he's tall, when he's dry, when he's full of energy, when he's got everything, when that blast double leg is at full speed. That's probably when he gets Darren Till to the mat, and he can get him out of there in the first couple of rounds. If Darren Till has any success, if he can stay safe on the floor, if he can defend a shot or two, if he can pin this thing up against the fence and slow that pace down, then Derek Brunson gets extended, and we've seen him huffing and puffing after about the second round. So when it gets into the third, when it gets into the fourth, that's when you're going to start looking at Till for the bomb. That's when you're going to start expecting that big meat hook, that big club of Darren Till to come around and whap Derek Brunson right in the head. So that 3.5 has me a little suspect, but I would have to say under. I do think this one's going to be violence. I'm saying Darren Till, 4th round KO. That's the prediction. That's the Total Takedown, folks. Share the video if you wouldn't mind. Do me a favor, subscribe here to Pub Sports Radio, and give me a big ol' like on the video. That's the best thing you can do to help me out. Follow me at Die Hard MMA Pod, and if you have any questions, hit me up over there. I love the interaction. Thank you. Good luck. We'll see you tomorrow for the undefeated post weigh-in show. Have a great day.